there aren't good doctors, there are only good patients. But then I have to say, and there aren't good patients, there are only good communities, right? Because I can't turn to my patient and say, you need to eat more pomegranates, and they're going to go buy them because they can't. They don't exist in our community. I don't even know if they're healthy, so excuse me if they're not. But the thing that keeps me humble is that we're constantly learning new things as a medical community. Beta blockers were good and they were bad. Now they're good sometimes. Now they're bad sometimes, right? Um, Cholesterol medicines, okay, they're good for everyone. Okay, they're not good for everyone. Okay, turns out there's a gene maybe we need to look for, right? And um, so I think if nothing else, we have to be humble because otherwise our credibility is shot. Our patients are going to come and say, "Oh, he said dark chocolate's good. He's wrong." Instead it's like, "Well, we talked about it a lot together, and I feel comfortable telling him, look what I found out." Um, sitting on your hands, getting the introverts to talk, making sure the extroverts don't mob the scene, breaking into small groups, really getting out what does the community need. So when we started a massage group, it wasn't my idea, it was the community's idea. We'd like massages. Okay, well, let's train this person to do them. Okay, now you guys get free massages while she's learning. Okay, now she wants to charge something. Okay, I'll create a billing model where we can do it. And but you guys have to come, right? So it wasn't just me making these groups, it's the whole community. And I encourage people to come visit. The Wild Foundation gave us some seed money to start a mini fellowship where people can come and spend even just a half day watching people come and go and the facilitation and what the receptionist does, what the facilitator does, what people get. Uh, it changes your mind. It makes you go, oh, okay, I was going to do an educational program. By the way, educational programs are phenomenal if you're dealing with empowered people. Like I would love an educational program. I would love to hear what are the 8 things you need to do. But the patients I take care of aren't empowered. We need to build relationships for life, not an 8-week program, a long program that people can opt out and opt in of. I'm grandstanding a little bit, sorry. But
No, fine. I'd love to just, that actually brings in a good point, of what we've spoken about here. So you mentioned, being in risk contracts. And, when I speak to people who are interested in that, we talk about longitudinal care, right? Because ultimately, what is stickier than friendship, right? Friendship is like the stickiest thing that you can have for people to show up. And Nathan, I know, in all the work that you've been involved with, some of that work has been involved with like seeing how things change over time. And I'd love to just, get your thoughts on, a lot of times I think we think about the kind of care that we're delivering. We're going to reverse someone's chronic illness in 6 months, and that's a reasonable amount of time to change the underlying physiology, get people into new behaviors, do a regime that normalizes the numbers. What can you tell us about what happens to people after they engage in these interventions? And if we're going to meld these two worlds of sort of precision medicine and participation medicine into a future medicine, how do we keep people engaged in the medium term or
Yeah,
long term?
yeah, and it's a great question, and it really comes back to what we've been really interested in, at the heart of the scientific wellness that Lee and I have been advocating for. But basically, it is really about you have to make a big impact in their health today, and then via the kind of things that you can, the measurements and so forth, you have to take something that's really abstract in the far future and make it concrete and relevant now. So, because that notion of if you eat this cake or whatever, you're increasing your odds of getting some disease downstream, right? If you do that as a prolonged behavior, right? You're consuming too much sugar, you're consuming too many calories, whatever it is. The immediacy of that in the moment isn't very high. But if you can kind of make it obvious to people what's happening in their bodies right now, and you can see a picture of it, and you can see those changes, I think that makes a difference. For behavior change, obviously the biggest factor is the social component, right? Is it connecting with something that they care about, someone that they love, those kind of things. So one of the elements, though, that I do want to come back to, and this was actually one of the big reasons that I ended up taking the job at Thorne, was that, you mentioned, like, how do we get this, from the realm of science, like, into a person's life? And one of the elements of that is that there's so much complexity when you really get into it. And I've been pretty blown away by as much as we've learned from these data clouds as we got into it. A lot of people, when we started, said it was a waste of time because these are well people, so there's nothing to learn. And 25 some odd papers later, there's a ton you can learn. But basically, what we have to do is to be able to take all that complexity, and we have to be able to deal with that both in the sense of algorithms and AIs that are helpful to us, and in the mind of the practitioner who can help to deliver that to individuals, because we have to make the actions simple. And I can't remember exactly the quote. There's an Oliver Wendell Holmes quote that says something along the lines of, I wouldn't give 2 figs for simplicity on this side of complexity, but give me simplicity on the other side of complexity, and for that I'll give you everything I have, something like that. And I think that's really what we're going for, which is to be able to deliver simple, important insights, both with practitioners and to patients, such that you're taking into account all of this complexity and all of the stuff that's going on in such a way that you give people the ability to navigate health in their life and to navigate around disease, not even get into that type of situation. And I think that's the future that's coming. And I think that we're going to get there, in the not so distant future, and you can see it already happening now. So I think that's incredibly exciting. And James, thanks for pulling this together as well.